Happy Monday, everybody. Today is day 20 of paying my bills with dividends. It's pretty exciting. Also, I realized I made a mistake on Friday, and we're going to go through that here in a little bit. So stay tuned for that one. This morning, I'm smoking a Caldwell Long Live the Queen Maduro. I don't know if you can see that, but that label is pretty sick. Been smoking these for quite a while. In fact, really enjoy this cigar. So I have a bunch of them in my humidor, and they've been in there. This one's been in there for well over a year, and I decided this morning I'd treat myself, to a fine cigar. So today is a good day. I have a little bit to celebrate. Number one, stuck with this for 20 days and have been able to do it every single day, which is a huge blessing. I don't know why I have this in. Just on a call, and I sound weird to myself, and I'm using this microphone, not that one. So, but today's an exciting day. Today's a red day. The market is down. A bunch of shenanigans. I ran blah 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 yesterday, and then some announcement this morning, which I haven't paid any attention to at all, to be honest, because I've been working and making money. So, because I've been doing that, I haven't been reading the news, but I'm assuming that that's what's going on, based on the market being red. But that'll allow us to buy some of our shares a little bit cheaper. On Friday, we did make a mistake in buying the shares, so we're gonna go through and work around that. But been exciting stuff, and I've enjoyed a lot of the conversations I've had with people about their own investing journey and what led them to where they're at. So thank you for the comments. Thank you for the people who've reached out on LinkedIn and Facebook and other places. Happy to connect with you, and definitely love the comments. It's kind of funny because I get probably 80% of the comments are positive, 20% are like, you're an idiot or whatever, similar to that. But that's fine. This is my money. I get to do what I want, and this is free country, and you get to do what you want with your own money as well. Nobody dictates to you what to do. So that's the great thing about investing is we all have our own way. That doesn't mean one way is right or wrong, and we're going to find out in the end whether my way is right. Might not be. We're going to find out. So let's find out together. And we're going to jump into my strategy that I'm using to pay my bills with dividends. And I did make a couple of changes. Didn't get to the research thing over the weekend because my son, he wanted to go fishing with me, and family first. So, everything else is secondary to that. So he and I went fishing, caught some fish, had some burgers. It was a good time. So great stuff. And I will get that research video done as soon as possible. Probably today or tomorrow I'll get that taken care of and get that loaded up. But for now, let's get into some investing. All right. First and foremost, this is not financial advice at all. So I'm not a financial advisor. I am not a certified financial advisor. I take no money to give anybody financial advice. So there's that. And somebody commented, I think it was over the weekend, or maybe on Friday, based on my bills, they were like, you should never take financial advice from somebody who's willing to pay $4,500 a month for rent. And they're absolutely right about that. You should only take advice from people when it comes to money. Only take advice from people who are where you want to be. So the people I talk to about money generally pay a lot more than that for living expenses, and so do I. $4,500 is what I pay to rent this place. It's not counting all the Airbnbs I stay in, and all the other stuff that I do. So, you should only work with advisors. And this is why I had a financial advisor hit me up the other day, and I said, I'll show you mine if you show me yours, and if your portfolio is doing better than mine, then I'll listen to you, and maybe we'll build a relationship. And he didn't want to do that, and so I didn't hire him. That's it. So I only take advice from people who are ahead of me. If they're not making more money than me, I'm out. So that's it. So there's a qualifier for your financial advisors. Don't just take the guy who's got worn out pants and worn out shoes and has no money himself. Why are you giving that guy your money? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. I've done it before, regretted that. So be careful if you're going to take a financial advice for somebody and let somebody mess with your money. Make sure that they're handling their own shit right. So if they can't handle their own money, what makes you think that they're going to handle yours? That's kind of like hiring a house cleaner whose house is dirty. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. But people do it all the time. go over to somebody's house and their grass is like 3 feet tall and they got all these snakes in there and it's horrible, and then they're going to come mow your lawn. What are you doing? So, all right, but the mechanic whose car doesn't run. All right, so anyway, enough about financial advisors. There's only one person I trust to manage my money, and that's me. And I'm the only person whose money I manage. I manage my kids' money until in custodial accounts until they're older. But outside of that, I don't do any manage anybody's money. So, all right, financial freedom. What I'm going to do with my own dang money to pay my own bills is this strategy. So I've been investing for a little over a decade now. I think I tallied it up as about 13 years, and it took me a while to really go all in on this stuff, mainly because I was taught, work your whole life, invest all your money into a 401k, IRA, get your Roth, do all this stuff, which, I still like my Roth IRA, but the 401k IRA plan just didn't work out for me. I didn't like it. I don't like health insurance. There's a lot of things I don't like, but I like managing my own stuff. And so with that, I created different strategies on dividend investing because I believe that dividend investing would be the thing to get me free. That was just my belief system at the time. And so, strategy number 6, I hit on something, and it worked. And it took me about 3 years of steady daily investing, kind of the way I'm doing it now, to get free to the point. And by free, I mean all my bills are paid for. And, obviously that portfolio is growing. I reinvested the dividends today because I didn't need to pay bills. And, I add more money into it every single month, that kind of thing. And with this, I'm doing a different strategy, mainly because a friend of mine said, Joe, what would you do different if you had to start over from scratch? And so I'm like, got me thinking, and I wrote it all down. I'm like, okay, this is what I would do. And so we're going to test it on here. So I told him, I'm like, it'd be kind of fun is if I recorded YouTube videos and just documented my journey. I think it'd be entertaining for me to do it that way rather than just me sitting lonely at my house smoking a cigar. Nobody knows I'm over here investing my money. I thought it'd be more fun to do it in a documented way. So that's where this YouTube video came from, this channel, and that's what I'm doing here. All right, so dividend growth. So what I'm here to do is cover all my personal bills with dividends. And by the way, that $4,500 a month, when I first started this process, my rent was not $4,500 a month. It was far less. But I like living life. People are like, do you really need this place? I'm like, no. This is like a $1.5 million home that I live in. It's got a movie theater in it. It's got this badass fireplace behind me. I don't need it. I want it. So, and that's kind of the best reason I can think of ever to have anything. So I just want it, and that's the way it is. So, all right. So, but I do want to pay for it with dividends. How about that? I want that too. So here's all my bills. I created this wealth snowball, and the wealth snowball means this. I'm going to invest enough to pay for each one of these, and then I'm going to document how long it took. So I'm going to pay with dividends. I'm not going to sell anything. I'm just going to buy more every single day until this happens. So, so what I'm going to use is some weekly payer ETFs to start out with. A couple of people are like, those are scary and volatile and whatever, and they're right. They're 100% right. Are there NAV erosion in some of these? Maybe. Am I that worried about it? I'm not that worried about it for this particular portfolio because I'm not buying thousands of shares with thousands and thousands of dollars and trying to do a long-term hold and buy and hold type of scenario with these weeklies. That's what we're going to do with the monthly ones. So we're going to make sure there's no NAV erosion on those. But the weekly ones, I know there is going to be. But for the strategy that what I'm using them for, they make sense. All right. So to me. All right. So shares of the weekly payers, I'm going to buy them evenly, one share every single day. And then I'm going to dollar cost average into them on a daily. So I'm not going to buy a whole bunch of shares of one of them all at one time. That's been a suggestion from some people. Why don't you just put all your money into Chippy or put all your money into this other thing? Then the dollar cost averaging strategy wouldn't work the way that I want. That's it. So, yes, I'm balanced out across 13 different holdings, which we'll go over here in a minute. But, the reality is I have a purpose for doing it the way that I do it, and that's to control the share price erosion on those. There's going to be some erosion in how much dividends they're paying out, but some of them are paying more than what they were per share than when we started. So that'll happen too. So I'm going to invest $300 a day of my own money into these weekly payers, and then once I've done that until I've reached $400 a month in distributions, which we're going to go over where we're at here in a minute. After we get done investing today, I'm I see light at the end of the tunnel line at $400 a month. It's getting close. All right. So then I'm going to invest. Once I do that, then I'm going to take 50% of the distributions and put them into the monthly payers. So the distributions from those weeklies is going to pay into those monthlies. And then I'm going to put 50% back into the weeklies to control that share price erosion. So that dollar cost averaging has done a pretty good job for me over the years of keeping that in check. All right, so I'm going to use margin once I've reached $2,000 in account value, which I did several weeks ago, and it's been great. Margin will speed up my process. There's a lot of people who don't like margin. If it's not for you, don't use it. I use it because it speeds up my process using somebody else's money for basically for free. So yes, I could do it without margin, but it would slow me down significantly. So if I can get it done, this whole process done 1.5 years rather than 3 years, using these tools like the weekly payers and margin, why would I not do it? I like doing stuff in 1.5 years rather than 3 years. But that's just me. So all right, shares of the weekly payers when they're at when I'm at $400 a month, I will also split that $300 evenly between the weeklies and monthlies, which means I will not be able to buy one of the weeklies every single day like I'm doing now. Otherwise, I would eat in a margin too heavy. So, but I still will buy enough that I will be using a significant percentage of margin at all times. So the nice thing about we're using Robinhood for this, they give me the first $1,000 at no interest if I have a gold account, which I do. And what I recommend doing if you're interested in Robinhood, this would help me out too. There's a link to sign up for Robinhood with an account and Snowball Analytics, which we're going to get into here in a minute. If you sign up for those, I think each one of those gives me about $5, and I will invest all of that money, the $5, into this account, so you can see what small amounts of money will do over time. All right, so shares of the monthly payers will also be used doing dollar cost averaging, and I'll buy even number of shares, so I'll keep that even at all times. Other than when because I won't be able to buy one of them every single day. So, I'll go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then, the ones that are not one yet, I'll add one. And when I get to 2, I'll get, buy them so they're even numbers across the board. And then the monthly payers, we haven't done the research on these yet, but I did add some stuff to the sheets, which is pretty good. I put all the links for all the monthly contenders that we have on the list that might be one of them, and we're going to weigh them towards tax efficiency and diversity will also be considered. So I'm not going to just do all stuff that is NASDAQ 100, for example, or built on top of SPY. There will be some of that, but I want some energy in there and some different things. So that will be taken into consideration, having some diversity in there. All right, so the monthly payers are what's going to pay the monthly expenses, the personal expenses, and I'm going to tally up how many days it took to get there. We haven't started buying the monthly, so we haven't added anything to this list yet. All right, so let's go over to the financial freedom. Let's go over to I don't know what's going on there, but let's look at these weekly payers here, so you can kind of see. Here's the weeklies we've chosen, or I've chosen. There's no we, me, myself, and Joe. That's it. All right. So there's no me, myself, and Irene. It's me, myself, and Joe over here. So the thing about it is the weekly pairs that I chose them for a reason. Number one was some diversity. That's why I have the semiconductors in there. I've got some cryptocurrency. I've got tech in here. I've got some single stock ones like built on top of Palantir and Robinhood. Which is the HOW one, and then I've got the weekly pay universe, which is the top ones from Round Hill, or they built it into a single fund, which is cool. And then I've got Tesla, Nvidia, Walmart, in here. Then I've got some NASDAQ or some SPY and some NASDAQ 100 stuff. I've got semiconductors and some more cryptocurrency. So as you can see, pretty spread across different things. But there was a reason for each one of these, and that is, these ones have been the performers that have performed it for me in other accounts. So I did test these out before starting this to see how they would do. I've been watching charts on them, and they haven't always been good. Like Top W, when it was WPay, sucked. HOW, depending on when you bought it, it sucked. So if you bought it at the high, you might not be too happy with that. If you go hit, I'm going to go put $1,000 into this thing when it was at its highest. Right now, you'd be on a happy camper. So me, I've been dollar cost averaging into it. I'm a happy guy. So that's it on that. All right. So here's the monthly contenders. All right. So what I did, I'm going to move myself over here. What I did with these is, I added all of the the links in here to each one of these, so they're easier for us on the when we do the research on them, which one to choose which ones. So a couple things that are kind of cool. There's some energy funds in here. I don't own any SRV in my other portfolios, but I'm going to buy some, I think, just to see how they do. The Wisdom Tree one, I have maybe a couple shares in another account. I don't have any of this this SATA. I don't have any of those shares anywhere else. All the rest of these, I own some shares, some of them quite heavy in my other accounts. But the reason I own some of them, like the Neos ones, is some tax efficiency. I believe that we're going to go do some research. These new JP Morgan funds have some tax efficiency better than like JebQ. So JebQ has been great for me, providing income, but it's not tax efficient. So we're going to wait some of that stuff, but we do want some flexibility here to diversify. So I've got real estate in here. I've got BDCs in here. I've got energy, you name it. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. Technology, of course, the NASDAQ stuff and innovation, growth, SPY, real estate. There's a bunch of different things in here. Gold, crypto, of course. So we're gonna dig into these in another video, and we're gonna pick 13 of them on that video. So I was thinking about doing it live and just getting people's input, but that seems too stressful to schedule all that right now. I got too much stuff going on. Too much stuff. I got to go to Salt Lake here on Wednesday. Today is Monday, and I got shit to do. So I'm just probably going to do the video and do the research myself, and then decide, and then I'll get your input in the comments. All right, so dividend payouts. I did some stuff on the plane like I promised, coming back from San Antonio here to kind of make this a little bit easier to see. So total invested so far at that $300, counting today, is $6,300. And then, is that right? Yeah, $6,300. And then the total dividends paid out so far, let me make sure that is correct. Yep. So what I did was I just tallied up all these dividends that ever paid out, and I keep adding them, right? And so what I did here too was I put what day I got paid in the system. So I'm like, today is day 20, got paid $6.84. Last Thursday was day 19, or I should say this should have been day 18. So I'm gonna have to go back and find out where my math got screwed up. I think it got screwed up right in here. So, but anyway, cause I'm missing a day, but you can see when I got paid out on these, what chunk of the payments have been on here. So obviously Thursday is our best payer, but you can look at it and go, the first Thursday that we got paid on, we got paid about $5.84. The next one we got $10.82. The next one we got $17.36. So the dividends are starting to snowball and go faster, which is great. That's what we want. All right. So but the link to this dividend payouts, I noticed, is not in the description. That's changing today. So you'll be able to download this one too. So I've got all the rest of these things in here, everything that I have at the top up here, other than the not financial advice thing. Everything else is linked down below. So you can just grab all of it. It's free. I'm not going to do a Patreon or make you pay me $5. I don't care about that. All right. So if you do want to give me $5, sign up for Snowball Analytics or Robinhood and do that. Actually, because that will help you, significantly. Both of these platforms are fantastic. All right. So, and by the way, these guys don't pay me. I'm not sponsored or any of that stuff. It'd be nice if they sent me a coffee mug or something, but other than that, I'm good over here. I don't need their $10. All right. So I do like $10 though. $10 is $10. All right. So here's today. This is kind of interesting. I got to move the controls out of my way. I know you guys can't see them, but they are blocking my whole view here, making me nuts. All right. So let's go over the last month. So since I started investing, as we just went over, I put $6,300 in. It has grown, plus dividends, up to $6,803. Like I mentioned on Friday, if I was a growth investor, I'd be so happy. It'd be ridiculous. I'd just be ecstatic about that kind of growth. But because I'd probably sell it and be on to something different. But today, a lot of things are red. Amazingly enough, Walmart, the thing that's been red for a bit, is green today. Chippy is green. Everything else is red. In fact, that stupid Berkshire shares are down more. Should have sold those on Friday. Regrets. So maybe it'll come back. But saw an article this morning about how Berkshire, their shares are getting left in the dust. Even though SPY is up, they're not doing well. Not quite sure why that is. Maybe people are not trusting, the company once Warren leaves, but maybe not. I don't think he's ever going to leave, to be honest. All right, so here's the mistake that I made was somehow on Friday I bought an extra share of PLTW. So I'm at 21 shares, and as you know, those of you who know me well, I'm OCD to the max on this kind of thing, and it makes me nuts seeing that 21 there. So we're gonna bring everything up. And here's the disappointing part is I want to buy a PLTW share today because it's down. So I may still do it, but I don't know. I think I'm just going to buy one of everything else and then call that one good. That way we've got an even number of shares. The Walmart shares, I still only have 7 of them. I'm going to have 8 after today, but I haven't had a good solid red day that's dropped my share price down enough that I want to buy more than one. I'm going to start when I do get a red day and this drops below our cost basis. I'm going to buy more shares of it to drive the numbers up a little bit on the number of shares. But with that, let's get into it. It being a red day, I'm pretty excited to kind of buy a little bit cheaper than what we've been buying. Everything's been green like the whole time we've been investing here. And most of them are still way up. I mean, look at Chippy for crying out loud and HOW 23% up. That's a lot. That's a lot for 20 days of investing to see a 23% gain in share price. But let's go ahead and buy one of these. I'm going to go ahead and limit buy. And look at the bid here. It's $15.80. The current price is $15.85, and then the ask price is $15.93. I'm not paying anywhere near that. I'm going to go try to get it for $15.81. See if I can get it 1 penny above the bid price. See if we'll do that. So let me turn on my volume so we can hear the chimes coming in as these orders go through, or not, as the case may be. All right, so let me move the controls out of my way again. These dang controls are not easy to move. I can't grab a hold of them easy with this desktop version of I'm using Loom. I like Loom. I've recorded thousands of videos using Loom, but this is my first couple days of using the desktop version. I don't know if I like it yet. We'll see. There's things I hate and things I love about almost all tech. All right, so the current price is $64.45. Bid is $64.41, and the ask price is $64.49. Let's see if we can get this down to at $64.42, 1 penny above the bid price on that. All right, HOW. Bid price is $29.40. I'm going to go all the way down to that bid price. Because that thing is so high, I want to get it as low as I possibly can. I know that that's going to decrease my P&L, my profit and loss on that, but that's okay. My share price, eventually, I believe that the market's going to have more problems at some point, and these prices will go down. But I hope not too soon, because a lot of these, the better the market's doing, the better they're paying out. So the bid price is $56.57. The current price is $56.59. I'm actually gonna go to $56.57 and see if we can get it for that. And so like Palantir, PLTW, HOW, Top W, Chippy, all these blocks, especially if crypto's going up, blocks, YETH, YBTC, all those will pay better. So we do, like, I have this love-hate relationship with share price. Like, I hate that, I hate it when it goes up when I'm buying. But I also like it when the economy does well and the share prices on things go up on the underlyings, and then these pay out better. So it's like, I love it and hate it. So what I like is getting these things for cheap and then having them pay fat dividends that pay themselves off pretty quickly. So that's happened a few times where, I'll give you an example. BITO. It's not financial advice, by the way, on BITO, but I bought BITO a long time ago, when it first came out. And, it was like, I want to say it was like $20 a share around there. And then it dropped to like $13 a share. And I bought a bunch of it, bought a whole bunch. I don't know why. I just got a while here, bought a whole bunch of it, like 1,000 shares, over a short period of time. And then it went on, Bitcoin went on a rip and and it was amazing. It paid out fat dividends, and then Bitcoin crashed, and then it quit paying dividends that were any kind of substance. And then Bitcoin went up again. It paid big dividends again. So all those original shares that I have actually paid themselves off. Would I buy BITO again today from scratch? Sure. If somebody said, "Hey, what would you buy more BITO in the above and beyond what I already have?" Probably not, just because I own so many shares and I like to have a little diversity. So I own too many shares of it for me to go buy more. And all those shares are paid for, so every time they pay dividends, it's just cash flow. That doesn't cost me anything other than taxes. So I'm pretty happy about it. But, is it going to do that again? I have no idea. This is investing. Is crypto going to go up to $3 million? Don't ask me any of these questions. So I have no idea what crypto is going to do. I have no power over crypto. There's plenty of other people who have tons of money in it, and they can manipulate the prices if they want to, just because of the number of shares that they own. I'm not saying that they do that, but I have no idea what crypto is going to do next. I just buy some shares of the ETFs that are related to it, and those pay me some dividends. I own zero crypto, by the way. So a couple of people asked me how much crypto I own, and I don't own any. I don't own any crypto. So I own no Bitcoin, no Ethereum, and I just bought another share of PLTW, didn't I? Let's cancel that. Habits. I've been doing that as long, and the habits already set in. Go down the list. All right, so 2176, 2172 is the bid price. So as you guys can see, I'm just trying to get these a little bit cheaper based on it being a red day and trying to buy them down. So one of the orders did go through. All right, so 1193, and we're going to let that sit for a sec. So it looks like HOW did go through at the price that I put in, because I now own 21 shares. So it did some things to my profit and loss. As you can see, I'm no longer at 25%. I'm at 22%. Even though today's a red day, my share price is way high. My average price is $24, and current price is $29.42. So, somebody saw that, what day was that? Friday. And they were like, dude, you should sell that sucker. And, but I'm like, well, what else would I put it in? I need another weekly in here, and so I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging, and maybe it'll go up and maybe it won't. Maybe it'll go down. Maybe it'll pay some fat dividends. We're going to find out. All right. So let's go ahead and edit these. I think I'm within a penny or two on some of these. So the bid price is $11.93. It didn't go through at $11.93, so let's go $11.94. We're just going to go down the list and replace these out. Normally it drops that down to the bottom when it does that. So let's start at the bottom down here under blocks. 1581, 1583 is the current bid. So let's go to 1584 and see if we can get that to go through. Chippy, 64.42, 64.46 is the current bid price. Current price is 64.48. I don't want to pay all that. So let's see if I can get it from the current bid price. Maggie's at 45.49 is the current bid. Current ask price is 45.55. So let's go 45.51 and see if we're just a penny off here. All right, we'll go up a couple pennies on this one because bid price went up a little bit since we put in our orders. I had this happen one day where I put all my orders in at the beginning of the day, and something, I can't remember if it was Trump or who came out and said, something about the economy, and all the share prices on everything just went nuts, and I ended up way overpaying. Had I just put the orders in and done it, that was the only time I've ever regretted doing these bid price buys. Other than that, I love doing this because I can usually get it down for a penny or two cheaper per share, and which adds up. It stacks. I mean, you're talking, like in my other account, I own thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of shares, and you're talking pennies on each one that I've been able to save over the years buying them like this. It adds up to me being able to buy a lot more shares. Even a couple pennies here and there, it tallies, and quick. In a day in my other account, sometimes I'll get $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in dividends that I'm going to reinvest that day. and saving a penny per share on stuff, man, it stacks. So I wish I had been mathing it out this whole time on how much money it is that I've saved doing it this way, but I bet you it's in the range of thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not working out so well for me right now. These bid prices are actually going up as fast as I'm moving these. Watch it. It turns into a red day by the end, or a green day by the end of the day, and everything's green in here. So, which wouldn't surprise me at all, as fast as these things are bumping in price. So, I may be getting close to paying current prices on a lot of these. In fact, this one's over. $37.77 is the last price, but then $37.88, $37.80. So the current bid price is $37.80, and then ask is $37.88. So this one is going up. So I'll end up paying more than the bid price, or the by quite a bit on some of these by the time it's all said and done. But it's still down, still red. But none of these outside of, I'm not losing money on anything other than PLTW still, and then that Berkshire share. Everything else is green as green can be. So, I don't know whether my dollar cost averaging is the way or not, but it seems to be working just fine for me. So somebody asked me about dollar cost averaging this morning. They're like, do you think that's really the way, dollar cost averaging? I'm like, I don't know, man. Every book I've ever read on investing says dollar cost averaging is the best. So, if you think that, you dumping 10 grand into one stock all in one day and hoping that that's the low day is the way to do it, okay, knock yourself out. Me, I like to buy a share. I like to buy a few shares here and there over a long period of time, but that's just me. Not all of it. It doesn't always work out. Sometimes I bought shares the very first time of something, and that just happened to be the low day. And over time, I'm dollar cost averaging as it's going up, and it's happened to me before. Happened to me with Main Street Capital. First time I ordered just happened to be super low, and I've been dollar cost averaging up ever since. My average price per share is still far lower than the current price, but in my main account, I bought Main. I own thousands of shares of Main Street Capital, but over time, dude, that thing's been it's been a huge blessing. Whether it's going to stay that way or not, I don't know. It only pays out like 5-6%, but they increase their dividends all the time, and they pay special dividends. When they pay those special dividends with thousands of shares, I'm a happy guy. I celebrate with a fine cigar usually. Sit on my back porch. Wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, enjoying life and loving good companies that do good things. All right. A couple of these are going through. We're going to get all these knocked out, and then we're going to go up to update Snowball Analytics and see what we did. I'm pretty excited because we're getting closer and closer every single day to hitting that $400. I'm so excited to hit that. I wish I had, some days I'm like, man, I wish I made this $500 a day just so I'd hit that $400 faster. I'm impatient, and that's the thing about investing. It really pushes me to be a more patient person. So, I like things right now. I want it and I want it now kind of guy. And, when that doesn't happen, I get frustrated. But being patient with investing, dollar cost averaging like this has been the way for me. It's worked out, and it's made me overall a better human. So I think I've just been more patient. I don't need everything right now. I can wait a minute. Teaching that to other people has been difficult. I'm like, give it a minute. Like, you don't have to get all worked up about your share prices being off for one day. Give it a second. The market changes so quick, as it's doing right now as we talk. These numbers are flexing up and down by the minute, and we've had a bad few months in the market. If you're a growth investor, the market's not been great. for you guys. My dividends are higher than, let's go to December till now. My income, my dividend income is significantly higher than what it was because I've been able to buy the shares cheaper. So, instead of being able to buy 100 shares in a day, I could buy 103. That's good. So if you're like me and you're like, I'm buying my freedom one share at a time, then buying more shares for less money is a good thing. All right, let's get these to go through. Talk about impatience. I'm like, let's go. All right, I didn't accidentally buy any extra shares in any of these this time, did I? Now I'm double checking myself. I'm like, are there still 3 that have 20? Yep, there's only 3. All right, so let's get these done. All right, block should go through on this one. Wow, the bid price is all the way up to $16. Let's go $15.97. TSYX. Crypto must be on a tear or something. It must be doing something going upward because that it dramatically increased blocks' price in a very short period of time. Let's get TSYX and then let's go work on blocks. Dang it. Let's go. All right. Bid price is $15.97, so it did come back down. Let's go $15.99. Let's get it 1 cent cheaper than what the current price is. All right, we did it. All right. TSYX. Look at this thing. The ask price is $22.98. Bid price is $22.85, and the last price is $22.90, and I can't even get it to go through for that. So, all right, we got it done. All right, so I now own happy owner of 21 of each of these, except for the Walmart bun, which I own 8. And then this Berkshire share, you know what? I have no idea if this is going to keep going up or down, so I'm just going to sell it. So I'm done. I'm done looking at you, Berkshire share. Goodbye. So, all right. So I added the $9 and something cents into my account. So after today, so I added the $300 in this morning, which did pay down my margin a little bit. Now I'm at $597.83 that I'm using in margin. So I'm still below the $1,000 that Robinhood gives me at no cost. I mean, I have to pay the cost. I'm paying for the gold account, but I'm not paying interest on it. So, people are like, well, you're paying the interest because you're paying the $50. I'm like, do you know how interest works? That's not how it works. So, even so, if you got a loan for $5,000 at 5%, are you paying $50 in interest? Go Google that and find it and tell me what you find out, because that's not how interest works. It is if you get a flat interest, a flat fee loan, right? So I've gotten flat fee loans before. Somebody's like, dude, why are you taking a business loan out one time at 10%? I was like, but it's a flat fee loan, right? So it's like, I'm going to take out a $100,000 loan. I'm going to, pay $110,000 on that loan. It's far better than a 10% loan, like 10% interest loan. Go look it up. The way interest works is you should understand math a little bit better. If you're going to take out loans, you should understand how interest works. All right, so so that $1,000, I am going to probably far exceed that in this account, but I'm never going to go into the danger zone. So let's go look at the margin real quick, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So over here with margin used, I'm at $597 and 20 something cents, 23 cents. Is that right? No, $597.83. So I'm still at low risk, and the reason I'm low risk is because my margin requirement is $2,212. That's where my account could dip to, in a way, right? So you got to think about the way that margin works is they take into account how much money I put in, how much money they put in, and then there's a buffer that they put in there. So I could dip. This account could dip significantly before I would get a margin call, but I never even want to risk a margin call. And so I always stay in this low risk category. And so you can kind of click on this. You can actually go on ChatGPT or, Gemini or whatever AI you want to use and go, what percentage can I use of margin to stay low risk? And I always stay low risk. I never go medium risk, or definitely not high risk on margin. So if I ever do go into the medium risk cat territory on here, I will back it off. So I always stay low risk. I don't like margin calls. You know, as somebody mentioned, the market could drop 50% in one day. Sure, it could. It absolutely could. And I don't want to get a margin call in a situation like that. So if the market dropped 50% today, would I get a margin call in here? And the answer is no, not right now. So, and I want to keep it that way. I don't like them selling my shares at the low point, and I will never use more margin in any account than what I have availability in within my money to pay down significantly. So the dividend should be able to pay down my margin fast enough that you know, when they do say, hey, you need to add cash in, I have money out there available that I can put enough cash in to not get a margin call during that time. But I've never had a margin call. I've had friends get margin calls, and they're all the ones that I'm like, I don't know about that, dude. I wouldn't use that much margin. So that's just me. I'm pretty conservative with my margin use. I do use it though. You know, at 5%, I'm going to use it. You know, I'm going to use as much of it as I possibly can to grow this account as quickly as possible. Because you think about this, I've put in $6,300 of my own money. You know, I've used 597 so far in margin, which has allowed me to increase the number of shares that I own significantly. So, you know, that's like almost 2 days worth of investing if I of the $300. So that's 10% more money that, or more shares that I own now because of using margin than if I had to wait for that $300 every single day. So, so that's pretty good. We'll do that. So that's good stuff. All right. So Snowball Analytics, this is where we were on Friday. And as you can see, this percentage rate has dropped a little bit because the share prices increased over time. So we're still above our 35%. And the total profit so far is $488, which has dropped $76 today because of share prices. But we did increase our dividend. So let's go ahead and sync this. Let's link it back to last Wednesday. It hasn't been syncing the dividends correctly, so I'm not sure if that's going to fix it. Somebody suggested I do that, so I'm going to try it right now. So nothing like trying stuff on a call. All right, so all right, here we go. So we got my 15 holdings in here. So we're going to go ahead and refresh this and see what our annual income's up to. For those of you counting at home, which you should be, I'm trying to get that annual income up. That's right here, up to $4,800. So that $400 a month is where I'm going to start buying those monthlies. So I'm about $2,100 away. That's going to go a lot faster when these dividends are kicking in. So let's go look at them. Let's go look at the dividend calendar and see if that fixed it. It did not. Look at that. I still can't see the dividends that paid out today. So, you know, I think I'm going to put in a bug request to Snowball and go, why can't I see the dividends that paid out on the day? Like, you know, today's Monday. Why is this blank? I should see Blocks and Maggie in here because I can see it over here in Robinhood. Let's go over to Robinhood, and I can see them sitting in here. I think it's because they say pending on them, but maybe not. Let's go type dividends. So they show up in here, you know, $4.79 and then $2.05. So that should be sitting in here, but it's not. But that's fine. Let's look at tomorrow. We're going to make $7.80, which is actually less than last week. So as you can see, POTW is going to pay out less this week than last week. So and that's okay. And let's go see if these are that they declared them. Yep. So you know, they declared the dividends, and that's dropped. So that's the thing about POTW and HOW is they are not consistent payers. They go up and down and all over the place. Top W goes along with it, so you can see that Top W, while it's increasing, is, you know, their dividend yield is 30 cents. Let's see what it was last week. I think that's estimated. I don't think they've declared it yet. Maybe they did. Let's go back over here. Declaration day. Why is it not showing? Man, it's not even showing. Oh, here it is. Payment dates. 4.15, so 30 cents. So they don't have the estimated in here. I usually find that on Twitter. So let's go look at that. I know it's called X, but I still call it Twitter because I'm lazy like that. All right. So you can actually see Roundhill Investments. You can click on here and you can go look at what they're going to say. So the weekly pay, W pay, so top W. So you can see top W is 28 cents. So it's actually less money than what it paid out last week, which was 30. Is that right? No, that was not the right one. Let's go over here. 30 cents a share. So it dropped. So the week before was 18 cents, then 30 cents. It's all over the place. So not consistent. You cannot count on these weeklies. I can't to pay my bills. The reason I'm doing this with these is because I believe that they're going to increase their dividends. I'm going to be able to increase these dividends over time, but we're going to find out if that's the case. So over here, we got $15.35, which is still higher than the $11.27. We'll see what we're actually going to get when Top W does theirs. And then, from $17.36, estimated is $21.43. But, we've been increasing every single week, 5, 10, 17, 21. And I think this will probably be closer to 23, 24 by the time it's all said and done. But every week I'm increasing my dividends pretty significantly. And over time, we'll see these things are crushing. So even though we had a drop off Tuesday to Tuesday, I don't think that's going to stay consistent. I think that we'll see a pretty significant jump. Palantir just has been sucking. So that's what it's showing is in that distribution drop. And that's smart of Roundhill to do that. So they're not eating into your principal as much. So you're into they're not giving so much of your own money back. Before Roundhill was they would hold those high dividends even when the underlying was sucking, and so it would cause some share price erosion pretty massively. And I think they just don't want to turn into another Yield Max, Misty, Ulti type of situation where they're paying out these high yields, but then just can't keep up on them. So let's hope that that's the case. I'm not sure if it's going to hold long term, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out together whether or not this was a smart idea or not. Okay, so let's go over here real quick. One last thing, and then I'm going to jump off of here. But let's go look at our goals. So still at 3% of where our goal is. So our goal is that 102,960. So if you take the 8580 that I need every single month and multiply that times 12, that's where we're at here. And then the contributions, I'm putting that $6,000 a month or $300 a day in. That's a average. And we'll just call that the average. And then how fast can I get there? It still says 3 years. I think the margin's going to help us with that, but we haven't started using it super heavy yet. And we haven't started investing in the monthlies and using margin to buy those on a certain cycle. So once that happens, I think we're going to get that time frame down. Not sure yet. We're going to find out. So take a look at this. Happy investing. Enjoy your day. And I'm going to get off of here, and I'm going to go do the video on those monthlies. So I'm going to start that video. I might not finish it today because I got to go to a meeting here in a minute. So I got a mastermind. I got to go work with some of my members. By the way, I'm Joe McKinnish. I run Blue Collar Connect, if you didn't know, and I work with contractors, and I'm about to go work with some. So I'm going to do as much of that video, as I can, and then I might come back to it later and come back to it tomorrow and finish it off. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and talk to you soon.